Okay, so talking back over our metric prefixes. So we've gone through this table, we've listed our prefixes, and remember that this table, it starts off from smallest to largest. So we know here is an example of our smallest unit, a small unit. Here's an example of a really large unit. There are smaller, there are larger, but these are the ones we're mainly going to focus on. And we talked about in class as well, it's recognizing the differences between each step or each unit of measurement. We can see up the top there from nano to micro, it goes from 10 to the power 9 to 10 to the power of minus 6. And that's a change in 1,000. 10 to the power 6 for micro down to milli. Again, that's a change in 1,000. And I've got it listed there in pink, the change in each step. So some of them change by 1,000, and as we get closer to our base unit, we change by tens. Again, you can see highlighted there with a little pink asterisk, so deci, deca, and hecto. They're not ones we regularly use, but we still need to know that they exist, and that deci and deca are 10 units, or 10 times larger for deca, or 10 times smaller for deci, away from our base unit. And on the right there in orange, you can see that this is how we need to think. That if we are converting between units, if we are starting from a smaller unit of measurement, so one of those phrases near the top of the table, and asking to convert to a bigger unit, so something that's under it, will we divide? And then the opposite way, if we're starting down the bottom table with something big and we want to go up the table towards something small, we're going to multiply. So let's look at that in action. So a couple of examples. So this first example here, it says write 52 milliseconds in nanoseconds. So the first thing I need to figure out is, am I going from something small to something big, or from something big to small? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to refer back to my table. I'm starting at milli and I need to move to nano. So coming up to my table, I can see here is milli, and I want to move up to nano. So that means I'm starting at something big because milli is under nano on the table. So I'm going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit. So that means I'm going to divide. And when I come across here, this is the section I'm looking at. To get from milli to micro, I got to take change of 1,000. And then to go from micro, that next step up to nano, there's another change of 1,000. So I'd go through 2 changes and each step's 1,000. So remember, we're going from something big to something small. So big to small is a multiply. I'm going to multiply by 1,000. I'm going to do that twice. So 52, when we times it by 1,000, takes us from milli up to micro. And when we times it by 1,000 again, that goes from micro to that final step of nano. And then we type that on our calculator if we're not sure, and we get a result of 52 million. Let's move on to example 2. Right, here in example 2, we've been given a number, 7.8 times 10 to the power of 8. Scientific notation, 7.8 times 10 to the power of 8. It's a really big number. Lots of decimals could be involved, or lots of zeros to make it really big in this case. So we use this notation to keep and write the numbers smaller. And we're starting at megawatts, and we need to get to terawatts. So let's go back and reference the table. We're starting at mega, and we want to get down to tera. So mega is above tera on the table. So mega is a small unit, a smaller unit, and we want to get down to tera, which is a larger unit. So if we go from small down to large, we need to divide. And if we have a look over here, we want to go from here, we want to end up down here. So we can go 1, 2. We're going through 2 steps of 1,000 again. So we come back down to our question. We know we're going from 2 steps, 2 lots of 1,000, and we're going from something small to something big. So we're dividing. So we get our number and we type this on our calculator, 7.8 times 10 to the power of 8. We divide it by 1,000 because that gets us from mega down one step to giga. We divide it by 1,000 again because that gets us that step from giga down to tera. And when we type that on our calculator, 7.8 times 10 to the power of 8 divided by 1,000, divide by 1,000, we get 780, and we include our units, 780 terawatts. Let's move on to example 3. Here in example 3, again, we have a number that's written in scientific notation, 5 times 10 to the power of negative 17, and we have that phrase at megagrams. So 10 to the power of 17, negative 17, sorry, because it's negative, it's a really small number. It's got lots of decimals at the start. So, but we are at megagrams, and we want to go to nanograms. Now that's a massive jump. Mega being something really big, and nano on our table was the smallest unit we wrote down on our table. So we've got lots of jumps. So let's go have a look what that looks like. What we want to do is we want to get from mega, which is at the bottom. We get from mega, and we want to go all the way up my wobbly line to tera. That's a massive jump, but I'm going to do it in 2 steps. I know that's my end, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from mega, and I'm going to jump to my base unit, because I know that is a change of 1 million. Because 1 million of my base units gets me to a mega. And then from my base unit up to nano is a change of 1 billion. So those are the 2 numbers I'm going to use. If I can, I'll jump, when I do multiple jumps, I'm going to try and use from my base unit as a point of reference. 1 million from mega to the base, and then 1 billion from the base down to nano. Now, we are going from something big, mega, to something small. We're going back up that table, so we're going to times. So coming to our example, on our calculators, we're going to get 5 times 10 to the power of minus 17, and we're going to multiply by that first number. We're going to multiply by 1 million, which gets us from mega all the way to the base unit. Then I'm going to times it by 9 zeros, which is my billion, which gets me from my base unit all the way back to nano. Put that on our calculator, and what we get is 0.05. Don't forget our units, nanograms. And finally, this was an example we talked about a little bit clearer in class. Some worded problem, the diameter of a red blood cell. Cool fact, but that's not the numbers I'm dealing with. We've got micrometers, and I want to go to centimeters. So micro is something small, and I want to go down to something big. And when we come back up to my table, we're starting at micro, and we want to get down to centi. So you can see there's 1,000, and then there's a 10. So because I'm going small to big, I'm going to divide by 1,000, then I'm going to divide by 10. So writing that down, 8 micrometers is equal to 8 divided by 1,000, 1 step, divide by 10, second step, which 8 micrometers becomes 0.0008 centimeters.